3, 2.
Hey everybody, welcome back to vExpert Daily for day 3 of VMworld 2018 here. So another gathering of some friends up here and guys that have been around the community for quite a long time. Not to say you're old, but so we really just want to kind of talk through what's been going on at the show, things you should see. And because this is the last one we're going to do this year, we'll talk about some stuff for Europe and then into the year, coming up for next year, because some of these people will watch this on the stream later. Maybe some recommendations for people that are watching it, if they might be able to make it to VMworld next year, things like that. So before we dig into all that, do some introductions so you know who all these guys are. I do find that especially the people that watch it, then they come to VMworld and they're like, oh, I do have a face to put to that name that they've been following on Twitter, or they watch their blog or whatever. So my name is Mike Letschin. I am the field CTO for Nexenta. I have been hosting this for as many years as it has been around. So I think we're at 9 years now that I've been doing this. So you can reach me at mletschin on Twitter, or however other way you want to find me. If you don't know by now, watch the other 12,000 times I've done this panel.
Hi, I'm Paul Woodward Jr. I'm a data center engineer with Presidio. You can find me on Twitter at ExploreVM, a blog at explorevm.com, and I'm all over the place doing all of the things around here.
All of the things.
All of the things. I feel like an old man. I'm ready to go home.
Day 3.
Day 3, yeah.
He's, by the way, 2 double espressos and a Pepsi in, so.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to hummingbird out of here.
Right.
So my name is Fred Hofer. I'm working as a senior TAM with VMware. You can find me on Twitter at Fred_vBrain. I've also, my personal blog is vbrain.info.
My name is Sean Thulin. I'm a vArchitect with Dell EMC for New England, so that's a hyperconverged specialist. My Twitter handle's real easy because it's just my first initial and my last name. And then my blog is ThulinAround.com.
Awesome. I'm Tony Foster. I am Wonder Nerd on Twitter, so at Wonder_nerd on Twitter. And I work for Dell working on converged infrastructure.
And Tony, you've hosted this a couple times for me on days that I haven't been able to be here.
I have
along the
hosted
way,
this,
so.
and it is fun hosting it too, I must say.
It gives you a different perspective, for sure.
It does.
So let's dig right into it, since we only have a little less than half an hour to kind of run through this. So I'll start with one of the normal questions I think I hit every year. You're in day 3, possibly day 4, day 5, day 6. You've been in Vegas. What was your favorite safe for work thing so far of the show and of your time here in Vegas? Safe for work.
Safe for work, you say.
We're not getting that rating on YouTube.
All right, well, I'll start. For me, I participated in the Tech Field Day Extra event yesterday, put on by Gestalt IT, and it was an in-depth sit-down with a few different vendors. So it's more information than you would get here in the vendor hall. Saw some pretty cool things.
So how'd you get involved in that?
A while back last year, I actually just signed an application to join up. And then I was selected based on recommendations and flown out to Palo Alto to Tech Field Day 15 in last October, I believe. So I've just been kind of part of that community.
Been in the circle now.
Yeah, part of the community. Yep.
So people can just go on and sign up, and then as they build their community brand, potentially get brought in.
Yeah,
but they can
sure.
always watch those throughout the year too. As they're
yeah, there are hundreds of them on YouTube on
right.
the Tech Field Day YouTube channel.
Yeah, just like this going out live, you can interact with it live online. I was a delegate doing the same program last year, and it's a lot of fun. They won't let me be a part of it this year because I work for a vendor, and they want to keep all the delegates independent, which is a big thing for that there. Right. So if you have anything that could possibly be misinterpreted as a conflict of interest, they want to stay clear of that there. So I really respect them for something like that. And again, it's a great way to get tech knowledge too.
All right.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Fred.
Go ahead. Somebody favorite. Well, why don't you go, Sean? You start. That way you can hand the mic off. Favorite thing, safe for work.
Fair enough. Favorite thing. I mean, God, there's been so many things here. I mean, this is, and they actually quoted me on the VMworld homepage when I said this last year, but I echo it. This is like a giant family reunion for me.
That was the worst name drop I've heard on this, and they quoted me on the VMworld web.
No, but it is like, it's all about the community and being here with everybody and seeing things. You sit down at one of the community tables and you never know who's going to sit next to you and what kind of conversation that you're going to have and what you're going to learn. You can walk the show floor and people are always handing you things and saying, hey, come sit in our session. But I find that I get the most out of shows and conferences like this by being a part of the community and interacting with people on a daily basis. So to me, that is the best thing of the show.
Before I let the other two of you answer then, in the hang space here, there's all these screens, there's tweets that are up, and as they rotate through, there was one that was showing some stats yesterday. Did you guys see the stats?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
It was asking what was the favorite thing about VMworld, and the people had to, I have no idea where they got this data from, by the way, so I don't even know who the people they polled were. It was choose between sessions, parties, labs, or networking. You want to take a gander at how that skewed out?
I know the answer. I saw it.
I can already guess.
What's your guess?
My guess is that networking blew everything else out.
Absolutely out of the water. It was 90% networking, 4% for labs and sessions, and 2% for parties.
Oh, see, it's up to 4% for parties now and 88 for networking. So.
Oh, Veeam's party must have been good.
Yep.
Must have.
Parties are fun and all, but like the vExpert party that we did last night, the first part, it had no music, which was great because then you could network.
Yeah.
You could actually have a conversation, play some old school games. I sat and I beat the 1991 Simpsons arcade game all the way to the end last night. It was just like a piece out of my childhood. I love
Sean, you need a hobby.
But
I do.
I gotta ask, by yourself? Did you beat it by yourself, or was it with everybody else in there too?
No, I had other people that they wanted to join in. Unfortunately, one of the coin slots wasn't working, so we couldn't get the full family going.
So this was at the vExpert party at the Pinball Museum.
Yes,
so if there's a party that ends up there, it's worth going to.
Oh yeah, that
so I
place
think the
is
no
awesome.
music thing for the network, I mean, I know for VM Underground, we always, every year we've planned it, it's always been, do you want to have the house band or do you want music in there? And we always turn it down.
Right.
Because we don't, like, that's not the point of the event. It's catching up, it's networking, it's seeing people you don't know or haven't connected with. So I think that is really important. So going back to the first question. Brad, favorite thing?
The favorite thing is to be here. So
vExpert Daily, thank you.
No, at
nice.
the show. Yeah, it's also an honor for me to be here, but for me the favorite thing is here to come here, and also I can also plus one, Sean, it's the networking part, because I think yesterday I was standing near the entry and I got only 5 minutes of spare time and everybody come in, shaking hand, talking to people I only knew from Twitter. So I got a lot of people I met here face to face, and this is an awesome experience.
Have you done, how many times have you done your first US?
No, it's the second one.
I'll
The
say you've
first
done a
one
couple now, right?
was 2012.
Okay, so it's
San
been a few
Francisco.
years since you've been back to USO, so your brand has changed a bit in 6 years. Mainly his picture has less hair. Favorite thing?
So I have to agree with him. Networking has to be my favorite thing. My next favorite thing's actually happening here in about an hour and a half is the EUC Champions meeting. So all of the EUC Champions, which is a social program run by VMware, are getting together, and we get to spend half a day with all the product managers and VPs and everything of the EUC side of VMware, finding out what's happening, how things work, why they work, and really get a large knowledge dump on us. So that's my second favorite thing.
So and
after
I
the
think
networking.
a lot of the different groups have things similar to that. So it's not just that EUC happens to be today.
Yes.
But if you're big on networking side, NSX, there's one around that, or each group. You find those when you're here.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that was the favorite thing. Obviously, we've got the hang space, pretty good sized solution floor. Any new cool vendors that you happen to notice that you can say while working for a vendor for some of you? No? None? Wow.
Well,
that question fell
I
flat.
was about to say, I'm looking at a panel full of vendors, and I'm the only partner up here, so.
I can still say, you can still say if it was a cool vendor, even maybe you don't compete with them.
So, part of the Tech Field Day event yesterday, I learned about Runecast.
Okay.
And that seems like a pretty cool product. They go out and they crawl all the KBs, the VMware KBs, best practice guides, security hardening guides, and like PCI compliance and a couple others. And they have a database and analytics that apply against your vCenter and against your host. and it tells you not only like how you fare against all the compliance guides, but stuff that you might have going on in your environment that are known bugs that you haven't fixed yet. So it kind of preemptively fix it, helps you know that this might be coming down the pipeline. You're going to want to look at that.
So it gives you kind of a compliance of what you should be doing.
Right.
In compliant, out of compliant, here's why you are, here's why you're not.
Yeah, and like potentially critical issues that you should fix that you're lucky they haven't broke yet.
That's kind of cool. So I mean, people can probably, I'm sure they're easy to find. Rune cache, you said, right? RUNE?
Rune, yep.
Okay. Sean, you look like you got one.
Well, I mean, I could give the the obvious shout out and say Actual Tech Media because they had a booth here today. Now that should be good for a couple of free books, right? But no, I make it a point
Sean's no longer on the panel.
I always make it a point when I'm walking the show floor to make sure that I walk along the fringe areas because this is where a lot of the new people are, and they're not always, sure, and they're trying to prove themselves in the market. They usually have a great idea. Half of them, it's like a very small team, and try to, talk to a few of them there. So I can't really necessarily say, one great company, but, all the major vendors are going to have big booths, usually right up front, and stuff going on down the middle. But I always make an effort to walk up and down the edges there so that I can see what's coming.
Did you notice? I think normally I've always said that you do the very outside edge because that's where they put all the small ones. But they've actually changed it up a little. I think that there's a little bit bigger ones on the outside, and there's a bunch of little sections. Throughout.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you've been here enough, it makes it a little confusing. You're like, oh, I don't know where I need to go now.
Yeah, and it's actually, if you go to enough of these now, because I think this is like my 7th, and you can, I hate to say it, you can see the changes in some of the companies over time, whether they come with a big booth or a small booth one year, big booth the next year, small booth the third year. I mean, I asked one of them because there was one that I had noticed that had noticeably downsized the size of their booth. I'm like, off the record, is this a sign of what's going on at the company? And he's like, no. We thought we wanted to do a more intimate setting. We didn't realize that by having a slightly smaller booth, it's going to delegate us off to the edge. And had they known that, they would have taken the bigger booth to go back in the middle.
I don't buy that, even in the least. You get a map when you pick your slot. You know exactly where your space is going to be.
Hey, I'm just going on what I was told.
They didn't want to spend the money because they weren't getting the return. Let's be realistic.
Right.
Well, I mean, having worked, vendor side for some of this, when you do your first VMworld, you're getting tons of leads. You do your second one, you're getting a few more leads, but you're really noticing that it's starting to be only like 5 or 10% new. And with it being in Vegas and being in San Francisco, most of those leads that are new are local to that area only.
Or it's just a lot of cost for a few leads.
It is, yeah.
Granted, it's good for the interactions with your current customers. I mean, I'm not faulting them for doing it or saying people shouldn't necessarily do it.
Right.
But I can see the financial side of why people would question it.
Well, that's why I say take the road, the show on the road and hit up the vMugs. The VMworld is great to get messaging out, but then take that. There's still a bunch of vMugs left in the rest of this year now for another couple of months still. And it's a great way to extend from VMworld on.
So here's an interesting one. Speaking of that then, it's been Vegas for many years. We know it's going back to San Francisco next year.
Right.
Where would you like to see them put it?
Boston, so I don't have to travel.
Vienna.
Woo!
I mean, the
for the European version.
Sometimes
for the European version. For the European version.
But think about it though. This show is getting bigger and bigger. It seems like every year. There are only so many places in the United States that can even handle it.
I like to see
San
them go east,
Francisco's one, Vegas is another, Orlando. I think someplace in Texas has a big convention
Austin
center.
would be pushing it. Austin's
no,
too
not
small.
Austin. Maybe Houston. But Chicago's got a big enough spot. But honestly, in LA and New York City, but those become other logistical nightmares to try and do LA and
your
New
price
York.
is there. It's a price point too.
Yeah, so there's only a handful of places that they can do this. And so going back to San Francisco, I mean, I love San Francisco. It's a great place. My wallet hates San Francisco with a passion.
Yeah, it might be one of the only people.
Your wallet hates San Francisco more than it hates Vegas?
Yeah. Because there's always cheap hotels here. If you've got Last year, I paid my way to come here. I got a free blogger pass, but I paid for my flight, I paid for my hotel, and if I have to do that again to come to the show, I'd rather it be in Vegas just because I can find cheap hotels. I'll go stay at the Courtyard off the Strip where it's really inexpensive, and there's always cheap flights to Vegas.
Versus having to be out near the airport in San Francisco or way further out. It's
right.
Or
logistics.
spending
If you want to stay in the city, it's $500 a night.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now as we go into it, I know we don't have a ton more time, so being the last one in the US for the year, last vExpert Daily here, what things should people maybe do between now and VMworld Europe? Or then even until VMworld next year? If people are watching this on the recording or were here and things maybe they didn't get a chance to, what would you recommend so they can make the most out of VMworld next year? And Tony, make sure you have the mic before you start talking.
You're no fun. So, personal opinion is between now and next year, educate and socialize. Go out, videos.vmworld.com, watch the sessions, watch those things that interest you. You can fast forward, play them at extra speed, whatever floats your boat.
Some of those presenters you don't want to hear at double speed. Sound really weird.
I can imagine. I'm probably one of them. But watch your sessions, socialize what you're seeing online with other people. Just tweet it out. Hey, I was watching this session. What are people's thoughts? And I think that's what I personally start doing to prepare for Barcelona and even going beyond Barcelona.
I think if you're going to do that too, make sure you mention whoever that speaker was, because being a speaker here in the past, it's really nice to appreciate that somebody's watching it afterwards or has seen it, and that it's a nice validation that whatever you spent a lot of time on preparing for and getting everything set was worthwhile. I mean, these speakers, while people a lot of times don't go to the sessions, and I get that when you're here, a lot of it's about networking, and I mean, I go to very few sessions here anymore, but do try to watch some afterwards, and it's a lot of work to put in a session here. It doesn't get necessarily appreciated all the time. So.
Right. I would say attend your VMugs. That community, almost all of your leaders, or a very large amount of the leaders, are here. They come to the VMworlds. They're a good resource to learn. If you want to chat with your leader about, hey, so what's it like to go to VMworld, or is it worth my time? You can get a lot of information out of them that way. And also, to Tony's point, it's socialize. Get out there, get involved in the online community through Slack channels, Twitter, blogging if you're so inclined. Because then you learn a little bit more. You have a bit of a community built up. Even if you're traveling alone or if you don't know a ton of people, you're like, oh, well, hey, Sean and I have talked on Twitter. Now I can go actually meet them, and it's a friendly face when you actually arrive at the conference. So you don't feel as overwhelmed.
I think part of that includes learning something outside your comfort zone. Which you guys
for sure.
Like spending the time, go watch one of those videos that isn't your normal product.
Yeah.
Go watch a networking one if you're an AUC guy or something different. Yeah. Then get to know those people. I got to put a plug in for vBrownBag too on that though. I mean, go watch the video from vBrownBag too, seeing us right behind all y'all.
Absolutely.
Big sign.
Yeah.
Sean's like, oh, there's a sign?
There's a sign.
What about you, Fred? Since you'll be at US, or you'll be at EMEA, I'm assuming. You'll be in Barcelona, yes?
No.
You're not going to
I'm
so
just in the
here,
US because I will be
on
on paternity leave when the Barcelona
Oh, congratulations.
event happens.
Hopefully.
Thank you very much. He is almost one, so.
He's almost one and you're now taking paternity leave?
Yeah. This is a little bit different compared to the
Interesting.
to the States. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
what should people do before Barcelona? Because Barcelona, EMEA is a little bit different environment than coming here for sure.
Because it's much smaller. It's much smaller. It starts on Monday and not on Sunday. So and my tips when I started going to VMworld, it was I packed my schedule with sessions, and I hadn't the chance to interact with people or go to the solution exchange. So I was there in the breakout sessions all the time. And after a couple of years, I decided, okay, I book only the sessions that are really interested me because they are available afterwards, so I can watch them afterwards. So I go only to the session where I also wanted to ask questions.
You want to meet the speaker or talk to that person about something specific.
And after, I think, 7 or 8 years active in the community is just fun networking. And as you said, learn something different. I started, I think, a couple of weeks ago to teach myself PowerShell And I attended here a lot of PowerShell sessions, also here in the code theater. So really good, really good.
Sean?
I mean, one of the things that I would say, about, say, between now and, any point in the immediate future, a lot of people saw the keynotes and the main messaging coming out of VMworld, but there's a lot of blog posts out there about things that were not necessarily announced wide. Like, we saw some preview information about 6.7 U1 and vSAN U1, which was not mentioned at all in the keynotes. Maybe they'll talk about it, in Europe, because don't discount Europe as just a rehashing of the US.
They often do announcements now.
Yeah, they have to, for federal regulations here in the States, they might have to wait and announce it at Europe there. So don't discount it just because it's Europe and you think it's a rehashing, because there's going to be a lot of different stuff there.
Especially with it further out this year.
Yeah.
Last year was a little harder when it was here. It was like you got a week at home and turn around and go to Europe.
Yeah.
Last year was a bit much. This year, we got 6, 7, 8 weeks something between now and then.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of time for a product team to put something out.
Yeah. And then I think just after that is going to be the Boston vMug in my hometown. So we'll get all the updates there. It's like one of the last big user cons of the year. But again, if you're not, if you can't go to VMworld, a user con is a great way to get a what's new in VMware update. They're going to definitely come through and talk about it. So if you didn't get to miss it, you can almost have like your own.
A lot of the local vMugs will do a recap of VMworld also. Right. So if you can't make a user con, it doesn't mean don't go to a local.
Right.
Because a lot of them will have local ones in the next month or two.
Yeah.
Just to talk about, often have a VMware SE there. Yeah. It can go into a little bit more.
Because like I have the big one in Boston, but in the New England area, there's a bunch more little ones all around for people who can't travel a couple of hours to a user con.
So I think the last thing I'm going to hit on before we wrap up is obviously with it being the vExpert Daily, a lot of times there's questions on, well, why vExpert? How did you become a vExpert? What does it mean to be a vExpert? One sentence each. What has being a vExpert meant to you while you've been here this week?
Community and growth.
Okay.
Yeah, for me also community and some little recognition about the work I'm doing for the community.
License keys. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, but community and growth. The whole program was a community program, and you get into it. You get out of it what you put into it.
So for me, I'm going to say slightly different. This is really family. Going back to what Sean said earlier, this is like family to me, and so that really the vExpert program's bringing me back to visit my family.
So I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't invite our special guest up on stage.
I agree.
You gonna run across stage?
I believe that is VRex.
So guys, again, thank you all for joining us for another few rounds of vExpert Daily over the last few days. We've obviously been doing it for many years. I know you guys, everybody's always seemed to enjoy it, and we will keep trying to do it. So make sure you follow all this advice. Pay attention to the rest of these sessions. They are here in the brown bike space. And have a great day. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.